Hey everyone, happy 2016, happy new year. I wanted to make a short little video just to explain a couple things that I've noticed were common questions on my YouTube channel. One of the biggest questions I get, or I should say kind of a group of questions that I get, is around the subject of covering up backgrounds that I've started, and why would I do that, and what is the method behind that madness. And yeah, so I thought I would just kind of walk through my process. Recently someone posted a question just kind of wondering why I would cover up so much of a background in the original collage papers and not leave anything left, and what is the point then of even putting those papers down in the first place if you're not going to see them. And I've had a couple other people on a different video say kind of the same thing, like, why did you cover up so much of your beautiful background? So I thought I would just talk on this side of the camera and explain a little bit, maybe face to face here, why I do that. So one of the main reasons is because when you're looking at a blank canvas or blank substrate of any kind, it can be pretty daunting. You look down and all you see is white, or all you see is the wood. And it's hard to, at least it's hard for some people, and myself included, to be able to just start making something. There usually has to be a jumping off point, some sort of starting point that allows you then to create ideas based on those layers. And so that's the number one reason, is so that I don't have a blank canvas or a blank substrate staring at me and I don't know what to do and I just get lost. And so if I start collaging down some papers, or I start swiping some paint and making different marks, it at least helps me to start somewhere. When I started in mixed media, I watched a lot of people's YouTube videos and I learned from people who had been doing it for a while that laying down collage papers or putting down different layers of inks and paints helps the creative process. So that's what I do. I usually, whether I'm doing the collage or the painting part of it, I have to put some sort of random mark, something down, in order to help me build my painting. I actually personally don't care as much about the papers. So one of the questions was from this painting that I did, The Girl in the Field. And this painting started out with a ton of origami, colorful origami papers. That was my first layer. And as I moved on and I built this painting, those papers were covered up in the process. And so the person kind of wanted to know, like, you know, why do you do this, and why would you even lay these papers in the first place if you're just going to cover them up? And again, the number one reason is just because I need somewhere to start, and that's the easiest way for me to do. My, or I should say, one of the things I love is pattern paper, and it gives a great starting point for color, for texture. That brings me to reason number two. Why would I even put these papers down if I'm not going to see them in the first place? Would be because it provides texture. So as I've been going along in my creative journey here, I've learned that if I just paint something flat, it is truly not the same as if I make a bunch of layers. And you may not be able to tell from here, and maybe I'll take my camera and put it down the other way so you can see, but you can actually see the shapes and the cutouts from those original papers in, I don't know if you can see, like right there. Right there. You see that hole right there is one of these origami papers kind of looked like snowflakes when I first started. So you do still see, I mean, when I touch this painting and I feel it, it has a lot of texture to it. And the only way to get that texture was to lay down a bunch of papers. And for me, it's just the process of it all. It's the different layers. It's the process of gluing and the process of swiping the paint and the process of making marks that really, really excites me. Even if I know that I may not see those papers in the end, for me, it's just the process. It's the step-by-step, layer-by-layer process. Now, there is one painting in a video I did with my bird in flight that I actually do regret covering up most of my original background, because I really did love that background. And when I started to make that bird, I don't know, I had intended to keep that background showing through, and for some reason I just kept painting and adding marks and trying to make it look a little bit more realistic. And I guess I could say that in that particular painting, I do kind of regret going over it as much. But in most of my paintings, I don't regret it, because it was all part of the process. One of my personal friends and also awesome artist who many of you may know is Mistel Kirking. And she has taught me a lot. I've taken many of her online classes, and I've spent time with her and learned from her, and she likes to talk about each painting having a story. And you know, part of this painting's story are those papers in the background, and part of this painting's story is the paint that went over those papers, and it's all part of the story that you're making on a particular piece of art. And so for me, I guess I see all of these different parts, all of these different layers, the process of it all as part of the entire story of a particular painting. And in the end, that story may or may not include the original background or the original papers. So in this particular case, yes, my papers got covered up mostly. Now, you actually can still see some of it, and it's hard for my camera to do justice, and when I take photos of the painting in the end, I don't have the best quality camera, so I don't think it quite captures. Pictures can never capture what is in person anyway, but if you were to actually look at this painting up close, you would still see some of the pattern of the origami papers. You would definitely see the shapes of the papers peeking through, and you can feel them physically. And even on my bird in flight, which I still have that painting. This one, you actually, if you were to hold this in real life in person, you can still see some of that background through here, and you can see some in the body of the bird. Let me see if I can get this. I have terrible lighting. I'm in the back room of my basement. That's where my studio space is. And as of right now, I have very just like regular lamps around. And so I need to get some professional lighting. That's why you may notice in some of my videos the lighting changes. It's because I do have a window and the natural light will come in, but then I'll be painting at night and it won't be there. And so you'll see my lighting changes. I hope as I progress I can afford to get some more professional lamps. But anyway, this is the one that I do kind of regret. I had intended to leave this bird kind of more open with the background, and I ended up making all these feathers. And I do like this painting, but I kind of wish I would have allowed that awesome colorful layer that I had to peek through. So again, and I don't cover up everything in every painting. Some paintings I do leave large chunks of that background visible in the end. This is one I did not film doing, but it's just this kind of folk art figure girl who I actually made inspired by Mistel. Anyway, as you can see, I left a large chunk of my background open in her body and in her dress. I used more of a transparent paint. You really can't see it well on camera, but and then you can see the texture and you can see the background peeking through, even though I covered most of it with paint here. So again, if you're viewing your painting as sort of a story that's unfolding, and you're just enjoying each layer as it comes and enjoying the process as it is, and seeing the process itself as an important part, not just a means to an end, but just really as an important part of the story of the painting, then it kind of changes your mindset on why someone would cover up most of their background. So I just thought I would come on and talk directly about that issue, because it seems like that is my number one question that I get is, why would you cover that up? Or I think you went too far, or I don't understand where your method comes from. And my method really just comes from the artists that I've learned from over the years. Mixed media artists online who post videos. I've taken a few online classes and workshops, and I tried to pick bits and pieces from those learning experiences and make them my own and figure out what exactly is my creative voice and what do I love. And I love to build up layers. The layers really do inform the end result in a way that if they weren't there, it just wouldn't be the same. So I love it so much that whether I cover it up or not, it doesn't matter to me. Again, the process itself is something that I love. So I hope that's answered your questions as best as I can. And please feel free to comment below, or you can send a note to my Facebook page. It's Jenny Nimi Art all together. Or you can send me an email at jennynimiart@gmail.com, and I'd be super happy to answer any of your questions about my methods, about my processes. And I hope you've enjoyed this quick video, and I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you will continue to watch. Thank you.